Good evening, dear friends. My name is Yuri Besarab. I will speak to you, or I will talk with you on practical aspects of autodidactics of Valery Kurinsky, or post-psychology that he developed. That's a new direction in science, let's say. Last time we spoke about interest. That interest is one of the major feelings that we can have. Without interest, it makes no sense to do anything. Just no sense at all. But we also spoke about adaptation, that we adapt to something, to all the things very fast. And it takes seconds sometimes, so it takes maybe a little bit longer. But usually we adapt to the things we study or we do, and then everything turns into fatigue. So we need to do something with this. And Kurinsky suggested to, you remember, the technique of breaking a toy, or how to actualize interest, how to make it, how to prepare it for us to have it. But also it's important that we don't burn our interest out. So what does it mean? It means that when we feel interest to something, and at that moment we are focused, and when we come to the peak of that feeling of interest, we should switch to something else. We should not let it burn out, because then it's difficult to kindle this interest again. So for that we need to study not just one thing, but several things. And Kurinsky suggested to choose at least three, and also to choose, like he calls a culturological group of, or culturology group of subjects, or those things that we study. If we speak about languages, it's, at least for Ukrainian speakers, it's important to study, for example, English, French and German, and then switch when we come to this level of interest, or very high. When we have that feeling, when we achieved it, so we switch from one language to the other, and then we switch again to the other, and in that way we can be in that state of interest for as long as we can manage to do. Of course, this is a difficult technique, but it gives a lot of pleasure when we master it. It's just incredible. For example, if you are an English speaker, you can take Spanish, French and German. And if you learn about articles, for example, in French, very usually these languages are very close, especially French and Spanish. Then the same rules, practically the same rules will apply to articles in Spanish. So it means like you will repeat knowledge about something here, and then it's the same here, and it's the same somewhere else. Also, it's important that we switch between subjects that we study in not a consecutive way. So, for example, if you take Spanish, English and German, first of all, you speak, for example, on Spanish. You learn Spanish, and then you switch to French, then to German, and then not again to Spanish, French, German, but you change it. You change the sequence, and your interest when you observe yourself will help you even because that feeling, what is interesting, our body wants to have it. Our body loves to be in the state of interest. So how to choose these subjects if it's not languages? If you take, for example, something more concrete, let's say mathematics, then we need to take something very close. That those like subjects that more or less interrelated. With mathematics, we can take, let's say, geometry and physics. If it's biology, we can take, let's say, neurology, maybe psychology even. Or chemistry. So we need to decide on those groups of subjects that are very close to each other. If it's music, if you play, for example, violin, so then take viola also and take cello. And then it means that you can switch from one to the other it seems like 24 hours a day you can do it if we master the skill of switching between different subjects, and if we master the skill not to let the interest burn out, but rather convey it, take it from one place to the other and to the other. So also we need to take some other subjects that could be very interesting for us. For example, philosophy. We could take philosophy, and if we could take music. We could take something else. That's let's say beaux-arts, how they say in French, or arts, sculpture and just painting, which is there is a lot of pleasure there. And if we learn languages, we always open the door to some new pleasures, to some new beauties that we have in literature. Because to live without, let's say, without reading poems of surrealists, French surrealists, it's not as, life is not as the same. If we live without Nietzsche in German, if we don't read his works in German, life is something is missing without Nietzsche and many other works. Or let's say poets, futurists, Ukrainian poets, futurists. Without them, life is less complete, less beautiful. So languages give us access to many beautiful things, and maybe we'll come to the point when we'll discuss how to learn languages in more details. Also, there is one rule which Kurinsky named as P, 3.14, or you can say it pi, right? And the rule is that because you can ask how soon should we switch from one language to the other, or from one subject to the other. First of all, we need to be guided by our own interest. We should do it not successively, but also this rule, or if we tune ourselves that we change or switch from one subject to the other using this principle of pi 3.14 and many other numbers, we tune ourselves that we can switch forever as long as we live. So this is again about interest and culturological group of subjects. Also, there is one very important issue for us, and that is about calling, or vocation, or like decision, what we are supposed to do in this life. This is extremely important to know. And I will give you a little story. You know, there was an American violin player, Yahudi Menukhin. He was a really very good player. He had his own school, and his life is very interesting, and he spoke many languages, by the way. And listen to his concerts, by the way, Bach, how he was playing Bach concert 1 and 2 for violin, just incredibly beautiful. So once he received a call from a very old man. So that old man told, look, I am 93 years old, and all my life I knew that I wanted to play violin, but somehow I had to do something to make money for car, then for the house, then for the children, and then I had to pay back the loans, etc., etc. But now I have money, I have a violin, even very good violin, but I want but almost no time to live. Nevertheless, I want to take lessons from you. Could you please give me some? Or maybe you could advise some very good teacher who could give me lessons how to play violin. So this story tells us that we can waste our life. We can put it into the wastebasket if we don't do something we are really called to do, or we are created to do by nature, call it God. So, and this vocation, or this calling, it's also some kind of a feeling in which we get a lot of energy from, yes, again, call it nature, call it God, but we really get a lot of energy. We are energized. Then we can, I don't know, it's not life, it's just pleasure, because we do something we are really want to do, we are made to do, we are called to do, and we get a lot of energy for this. But here's the question: how to identify it? What that vocation, that calling? Kurinsky developed a technique which is called the position of the last day in our life, or technique of the last day in our life. Just imagine that this is the last day of your life, and in fact every day is the last, but let's imagine that this is the very last, no more. And you need to decide, you have like 10-15 hours left, and you need to decide what you want to do during these hours. Of course, you say bye-bye to, just imagine that you said already bye-bye to your relatives, kids, children, etc., to your beloved ones. So, and then you have these just 10 or 15 hours. And we need to decide what we want to do. So this technique can help us identify that calling, that vocation. If it doesn't help from the first time, we need to try it again, and then again, and again. Otherwise, it makes no sense to live, in fact. But also, there is an additional technique which can help you to identify that calling, that vocation, and that is analysis of your childhood. Just look down into your childhood. For some of you, it's a long time ago. For some of you, maybe not. But in our childhood, like until we are teenagers, we could identify something that is specific only to us. That is, only us can do it in that specific way. So if maybe on pictures, maybe you can speak to your relatives who remember you when you were very small, especially 3, 5, 6 years, maybe 9, maybe 10. So that can help you too, in addition to these techniques of the last day. If that doesn't help, I suggest to read this book. This is the book of Somerset Maugham. Somerset Maugham, it is called The Moon and Sixpence. Of course, this book can be helpful to you, but no need to like take extreme forms of what is written in this book. So reading is good. It can help you in addition to these techniques that I described. With this, I ask you to put likes, to subscribe, and also to share this video with your friends, let's say. And until the next program, bye-bye, good luck.